Okay, that's done. Okay, you can start whenever you're ready.
Yep. Hare Krishna, everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 15, Purushottam Yoga. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Udvarvamulam Adashakham Asvatam Prahu Avayayam Chandashi Yasya Parnaniya Yahatam Veda Savedaviti.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its own root upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas."
Verse 2. Adaha cha udvaram prasuta tasya sakhaha guna pravaddaha vishaya pravalaha adaha cha mulani anusantatani karma anubandhini manushaloke.
The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the object of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of the human body.
Verse 3 and 4. Narupam asya iha tatha uplabhyate na antah na cha adiha cha na cha sampratishtha asvatham enam suvirudhamulam asanga shastrena drudena chitva tatah padam tat parimargitvayam yasmin gatah na nirvanti bhuyah tam eva cha adyam purusham prapedya yatah pravutti prasutta purani.
The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial.
Verse 5. Nirman moha jit sang dosaha adhyatma nitya vinovrit kamaha dvadeya vimukta sukh dukh sange gachanti amuda padam ravyam tat.
Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom.
Verse 6. Na tat basayate suryaha na shashank na pavaka yat gatva na nirvante tat dhama param mama.
That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
Verse 7. Mama eva anshaha jiva loke जीवभूतः सनातन मनषष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragment parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
Verse 8. Shariram yat avanopti yat cha api utkramati ishvara जीव गृहीत्वा एतानि संयाति वायु गदान इव आश्रयात्.
The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another.
Verse 9. Shrotam chakshuः sparshanam cha rasam dranam eva cha adhisthaya manah cha ayam vishayan upsevate.
The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects.
Verse 10. उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुजानां वा गुण अनिवतं विमूढा न अनुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुः.
The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this.
Verse 11. यतन्तयोगिनः च एनं पश्यन्ति आत्मनि एव स्थितं यतन्त अपि अकृत आत्मनः न एनं पश्यन्ति अचेतस.
The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to.
Verse 12. यत् आदित्यगतं तेजः जगत् भाषयते अखिलं यत् चन्द्रमसि यत् च अग्नौ तत् तेजः विधि मामकम्.
The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me.
Verse 13. गाम आविश्य च भूतानि धारयामि अहम् ओजसा पुष्णामि च औषधीः सर्वा सोमः भूत्वा रसात्मकः.
I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
Verse 14. अहं वैश्वानर भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहम् आश्रितः प्राण अपान सामयुक्तः पचामि अन्नं चतुर्विधम्.
I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of foodstuff.
Verse 15. सर्वस्य च अहं हृदय सन्निविष्टः मतः स्मृतिः ज्ञानम् अपोऽहम् च अपोऽहं च वेदेह च सर्वे अहम् एव वेदेह वेदांत कृतो वेदविद एव च अहम्.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Verse 16. द्वौ इमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरः च अक्षरः एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कुटुस्थः अक्षर उच्यते.
There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible.
Verse 17. उत्तम पुरुषो तु अन्यः परमात्मा इति उच्यते यः लोकत्रयम् अविश्य बिभर्ति अव्ययः ईश्वर.
Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them.
Verse 18. Yasmat ksharam atita aham aksharat api cha uttama atah asmi loke vede cha pratitah purushottamah.
Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I'm the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person.
Verse 19. Ya mam evam asmujah janati purushottamam sa sarvite bhajati yamam सह सर्विते भजति माम सर्वभावेन भारत.
Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharat.
इति गृह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदम् उक्तं मया अनद एतत् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृत्य च भारत.
This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection.
ओम तत्सत् श्रीमद् भागवत अध्याय. Sorry, Hare Krishna. Sorry, I could
Hare
not.
Krishna.
That's
Hare
okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Chaya Mataji. A good
I-
effort. This is the first time you're doing this?
No, I tried before twice, but this time, I'm just learning basically, Prabhuji.
That's good.
That's what I,
Good. Good effort. Good effort. You were reading not from the shloka. I suspect you were reading somewhere else.
yeah, I got to my Bhagavad Gita, so I was reading from there because I'm on my phone, so I'm finding very small
Understood.
writing.
Okay,
So I was
okay.
just using my own Bhagavad Gita here.
No, that's fine because some of the way you were pronouncing some words,
Yeah.
they were written differently in another book, I think. But that's fine. Good. Thank you for making the effort. Like I always say, just making the effort to recite these wonderful verses. It also gives everybody a lot of benefits. So nice effort. And Naina Mataji, thank you so much for nice fluent English recitation.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let me now close this and see if I can bring up the text. Yeah. Right. So we'll go on to today's verse. So before that, we'll do the necessary. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 19. Yo mam evam asammudo janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. Translation. Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, I'll just get that. Prabhupada ki jai. Translation goes, whoever knows me as a supreme personality of Godhead without doubting is a knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. We've got 3 paragraphs in the purport, so we can just have maybe 3 people. I will just look at my screen. So I can first of all just say, Gerta Mataji, maybe you can do the first paragraph. Then I will ask perhaps Hemlata Mataji, maybe if you can do the second paragraph. And then I've got Jatin Panchasara, if you can do the third paragraph, Jatin Prabhu. So we can start with Gerta Mataji, the first paragraph, please.
Hare Krishna, there are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. Now in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna to be the Supreme Personality is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth, but the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Throughout the whole of Bhagavad Gita, this fact has been stressed at every step, and still there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad Gita who consider the Supreme Absolute Truth and the living entities to be one and the same.
Hare Krishna to everyone. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Here, Krishna distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear like the hogs is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, knows the purpose of Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of Vedas.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I read? Jatin Panchastra already left, I think.
Okay, yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Just going to enlarge the screen, sorry. Here. The word bhajati is a very significant. In many places, the word bhajati is expressed in relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in a full Krishna consciousness in the devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual process for understanding the Supreme absolute truth. He has already came to the point because he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary process of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of a Godhead and that one has to surrender there, all this speculation for so many years and lives is a useless waste of time. Thank you very much, Prabhu Haribo.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kata Mataji and Hemrata Mataji and Sangeeta Mataji. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you. Let me just stop sharing that and share my other screen. Okay, so we are almost towards the end of this chapter, this wonderful, beautiful chapter. We'll just do the summary so far, as we always do. So text 1 to 5 spoke about the detachment from the material world, this wonderful analogy about the banyan tree, taking us through detachment in text 4 and 5. Then 6 to 11, transmigration. Krishna started with explaining the identity of the spirit soul in text 7, and then speaking about transmigration, text 8, and then going on to next section, which is 12 to 15, which is how Krishna is the maintainer of the body, mind, and soul. Krishna spoke about how he is the effulgence of the sun, moon, and the fire, and how he's maintaining everybody. We went through quite detailed descriptions about how these three wonderful energies of Krishna help us to maintain our body. Then in text 14, Krishna also confirmed that he maintains not just to, he helps us not just to create the food, but food that we eat, he also helps us to digest it. And then in text 15, he mentioned that he gives us intelligence, he gives us memory, forgetfulness, and knowledge. And then he's also the compiler of Vedanta. So he is fulfilling, he is helping our mind, maintaining our mind by giving us the knowledge and forgetfulness and etc. And also he is maintaining our soul by giving us the Vedic knowledge. That's the food for the soul. Then 16 to 18, we went to this wonderful 3-shloki Gita. Krishna spoke about the two types of beings, Kshara, Akshara, and their identity. Then over and above them, Krishna says there's a supreme person. And then he said, it is him who is the supreme person. Now, these last two verses, It's got a sort of a Falashruti, you can say. Sort of knowing Krishna means knowing everything. So in these two verses, he gives us what benefit we get by understanding and realizing this 15th chapter. We'll go to the verse today's 15:19. We already recited the verse. We just reminded ourselves about the translation. Whoever knows me as a supreme personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So asam mudo means one who is not bewildered. In the translation it says without any doubt, without doubting. So one who knows this without any doubt. Chanati Purushottama, knowing me to be the supreme person. Sarvavid. Vid is this vidya. Vidya is knowledge. So vidya comes from the root word vid. So sarvavid means all knowledge. Sarvabhavina Bharata. So, and they engage in a full devotional service also in Bharata. Very nice verse. We, as usual, pick up the main points from Prabhupada's purport. So he says there are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. So we'll look at the absolute truth first, how the different conceptions of the absolute truth. So there are different people have different conceptions of the absolute truth. This is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, text 11. Anybody know this verse? Vadanti tattvavidas tattvam yas jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagvaniti shabdyate. Here Shukdev Goswami this is actually, yes, perhaps it's the sages and Naimisharanya speaking this. The learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. So you see, these are the three aspects that people can see. But each one of them is not wrong. First two are partial realizations, and Bhagavan is the complete realization. So we will discuss that a bit in detail in a minute. But all three are valid in that sense. So there are three types of transcendentalists. So we look at these three types of transcendentalists, and we'll also look at what is their conception of the absolute truth. Can anybody tell me what three types of transcendentalists there are? If I start off, Jnanis, and then Jnanis, what is their conception? Anybody?
Brahman realization.
Say again, please. Say it again.
Brahman realization.
Exactly. So their conception is the Brahma Jyoti. Brahman realization. So that is the Jnanis. Now, somebody should be able to guess who were the others.
Yogis.
Very good. Yogis. And their conception is?
Paramatma.
Excellent.
And Bhakta. And the Bhakta, like devotees.
Bhakta devotees and their Bhagavan. Exactly. So you can see from here, the first two, the effulgence of the Lord is Brahman, Brahma Jyoti. And the Lord's form, his expansion as the, I'm just muting some of the mics. The Lord's expansion as Paramatma, residing within all living entities, including the atoms, and pervading the whole universe, is Paramatma. And then Bhagavan, of course, is the complete realization. He is a supreme person. So these are the three categories. We can now look at how. So Prabhupada says, anyone who knows Lord Krishna to be the supreme person is actually the knower of everything. So we'll see how these partial truths, how we can understand them. So we can take an example. This is an example Prabhupada gives sometimes, that if you take here 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 blind people who of course have never seen an elephant, and if you take them to an elephant, each one of them will have a different idea of what an elephant is. So one person will say that it's a fan because it's touching the ear, and ear is moving around like a fan. The other one will say it's like a spear because he's touching the trunk, the tusk. Then the third one will say it's a snake because he's touching the trunk. The person who's touching the leg, one of the legs, it's like a tree. The one who's holding the tail, it's like a rope. The person who's actually just touching the sides, it's like a wall. So each one of them has got their perception of what an elephant is, and each one of them is correct in their own way. But of course, that is not the whole truth. So similarly, the Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, not wrong, but not complete. The Bhagwan realization is complete. Prabhupada gives another analogy as well. See there was a brand new train station that came up near a village. And people in the village had never seen a train before. So some people were taken to the station when the first train arrived. So the station was a couple of miles away, so they all went there. And the first person who saw this scene, he thought, I want to be the first one to go and give this information to my friends in the village. So he saw this and rushed back and said, I know what a train looks like. It's like a set of lights traveling towards you. That's what a train is. And the second one said, no, he waited a little bit longer. So he could see the form of the train. So he then ran back and said, I know what a train is. It's like a huge metal snake, like chugging along towards you. And then a third one who had the patience to wait a bit longer, he could see the passengers in the train's got windows, it's got the driver and all that. So from these three, of course, he got the complete knowledge of what a train is like. The other two have had partial information about what a train is like. Often, sometimes also example is given like water. Water exists, for example, in the form of ice. It exists in the form of water itself, and then steam. So all these three are different forms of the water, and they're all water in the end, because when the ice melts, it will become water. When the steam touches the cold surface, it will turn into water. So similarly, this is how the incomplete realizations are there. But we are very, very fortunate because of the teaching of Srila Prabhupada Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are right from the beginning, we are getting the complete information about who the Lord is. So Prabhupada says in the purport, the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So once you know the Supreme Lord, then you will not be interested in the Brahman effulgence or the Paramatma. Even the Paramatma, of course, we respect the Paramatma, he's within our hearts, but we also know that Paramatma is an expansion of the Supreme Lord, so we worship the Lord directly. Krishna, this is the doubt that Arjuna raises actually in the beginning of the 12th chapter. So Arjuna is saying, Arjuna Vaja, evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ki yoga vittama. So Arjuna is asking this very question to Krishna. He says, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always engaged, or always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifest? And in the very next verse, Krishna answers, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Maya Veshya Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Te Me Yukta Tama Mata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and who are always engaged in worshiping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect. So here, Krishna is confirming to Arjun and to us, of course, that Bhagwan realization is the perfect realization. Those devotees, Krishna says, are perfect. In the personal realization of the Lord, we can then think about the Lord's form, his virtues, his pastimes, associates, abodes, like that. When you're thinking about Paramatma, you can't think like that, because Paramatma is all pervading. We know where he is within everyone's heart and within the soul. If you think about the Brahma Jyoti, yes, there is no variety there. So variety is only in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the personal form. So now we can look at the constitutional position of the living entity. So this particular post was sent today by Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu. So I've taken it from there. Thank you for sharing that, Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu. I'm not sure if he's usually in the class. Yeah, he's there, I can see him. So very nicely explains this comparison about the soul and the super soul. So the soul is Jivatma, whereas the super soul is Paramatma. The soul is infinitesimal, Anu, and the Lord is infinite, Vibhu. The living entity is, the soul is cognizant of his own body, but the Lord is cognizant of everyone's body and everything else. The soul is a loving servitor, that's the translation, that's our position. But the Lord is eternally a loving master. And in that, there's a translation of 15:7 given. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila text, chapter 2108, Krishna gives this beautiful verse, with again, I'm sure most of you know. Jivara Swarupa Haya Krishna Krishnara Nitya Das Krishnara Tatashta Sakti Bheda Ved Prakash. It is a living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Lord Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation of simultaneously one with and different from the Lord. On Tuesday, we were discussing this. I think it was Ashwin Prabhu. He was asking the question about this. So this is explained here, simultaneously one and different from the Lord at the same time. So this is the Achintya Bheda Ved Prakash. Achintya Bheda Ved Tattva that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is propagated. So Krishna's energies are multifarious, of course. He's got unlimited energies, but they are broadly divided into three categories. Anybody know that?
Is it internal?
Yes, you're right. So Antarangi, which is internal.
External?
External.
And marginal.
And then marginal. What's the Sanskrit word for marginal?
Marginal.
Tathastha Shakti.
Tathastha, exactly. Yes, thank you. Tathastha. So Antarangi, internal, Tathastha, marginal, which is us, the living entities, and Bahirangi. So Antarangi is Shakti, his energy is the spiritual world. And Tathastha is the Jivatmas, and Bahirangi is the material nature. So these are three energies that they're spoken about in this verse. So Prabhupada then says Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. So all learning we do, of course, we learn through, we watch things, we look, and our vision can also give us knowledge. But it is said that the Vedic knowledge should be understood, should be heard and digested like that. So it enters, the knowledge enters through our ears into our heart. It's a beautiful verse in the 5th canto, 18th chapter, text 11. These are prayers offered to the Lord by the residents of Jambudvipa. And this particular prayer is offered in the Harivarsha island. The exalted devotee there is Prahlad Maharaj, and he's worshipping Lord Narasimha. So this is the 5th canto. Actually, the Lord Narasimha appears in the 7th canto. But here, this is explained in the sort of the part of the universe, the structure of the universe. That's especially in particular structure of the Jambudvip. So here, the prayer goes, Yat Sangalabdam Nijavirya Vaibhavam Tirtham Muhusam Sprishatam Himanasam Haratya Jonta Shrutibir Gaton Gajam Yukovai Naseveta Mukunda Vikramam. So, by associating with persons for whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda is the all in all, one can hear of his powerful activities and soon come to understand them. The activities of Mukunda are so potent that simply by hearing of them, one immediately associates with the Lord. For a person who constantly and very eagerly hears the narrations of the Lord's powerful activities, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead in the form of sound vibrations, enters within his heart and cleanses it of all contamination. On the other hand, although bathing in the Ganges diminishes bodily contaminations and infections, this process and the process of visiting holy places can cleanse the heart only after a long time. Therefore, who is that sane man who will not associate with devotees to quickly perfect his life? So you see, associating with devotees, that means you will hear of the Lord, like this is what we are doing every evening here in the chat classes. We're associating with each other and we are hearing. And this hearing in the sound, this sound vibration goes into our heart. It cleanses the heart of all the contaminations. For millions of lifetimes, we've been accumulating so much dirt within our heart. And this hearing of the Lord's pastimes and his activities would cleanse the heart much quicker than even taking a bath in the Ganga or even visiting all the holy places. Because this is the power of hearing the Lord's pastimes and his names. So one should actually receive then says, yeah, well, Prabhupada says one should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Parampara, very important. So here you can see this beautiful diagram where Lord Krishna, Radha Krishna is there, Lord Brahma is there, Lord Narad is there, and then of course a lot of missing personalities in between. Then we've got Bhakti Vinod Thakur, okay, who's next?
Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Kishore Baba.
Before that.
Kishore Baba.
Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj, yes, after that.
Bhakti
Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
And finally, our own dear Srila Prabhupada. So you see the parampara coming all the way from of course, as I said, this is an incomplete list here because you can't get so many pictures on a diagram like this. But here, that in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, just before, I think just after the preface, you have the complete list here. Yes, it's listed here. I'll share this PowerPoint with you so you can go through it. And you also, of course, it's in the Bhagavad Gita. So very, very important to receive the knowledge, not just from anybody. We can switch on Asta TV and listen to so many different people, but that actually, in fact, sometimes can be detrimental. Sometimes can be damn right dangerous because it can lead us completely away from what our beliefs are. So many different things are shot at us from the TV that is sometimes not worth listening to. We switched off our Asta a long time ago, many years ago, after listening to some really sort of not bona fide philosophy being propagated there. So one must be very, very careful to hear from the right source, bona fide source. So this you must keep in mind always. Then Prabhupada is saying in the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual process for understanding the supreme absolute truth. So this beautiful verse in the 7th canto, 7th chapter 29, confirms this. Tatropaya sahasranam ayam Ayam Bhagavato Tita Yat Ishvare Bhagavati Yataya Anjasarati. Of the different processes recommended for disentanglement from material life, the one personally explained and accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be considered all perfect. That process is the performance of duties by which love for the Supreme Lord develops. Such an important verse, this one. So you see, there are so many processes. There are many, many processes. We're not saying that this is the only process, but this is the best process in Kali Yuga. And this is what we must remember. But there are so many different processes, and if we get entangled in those processes, we will be stuck. It's very, very, very difficult to make progress in those different processes. Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have given us this simplest process. Just by engaging in devotional service, we can make our way back to Godhead very, very soon. Prabhupada then says, if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that one has to surrender there, all his speculation for so many years and lives is a useless waste of time. Again, beautiful verse in the first canto, second chapter, 8. Dharmas manustita pumsam vishpakshena kathasuya notpadya yadi ratim shramma eva hi kevalam. Says, the occupational activities a man performs according to his own positions. See, for a lifetime, from so many lifetimes, we've just been doing whatever comes natural to us and just carry on doing from one life to another, right? But here it is said, and this is Sutta Goswami speaking to the sages in Naimisharana. He says, these are only so much useless labor. Shramma eva hi kevalam. If they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. So, very, very important for us. I'm not sure how the time is. Yeah, it's 34. Let me just see one more slide, perhaps. So, whoever knows me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is a knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. This is, I'm repeating the verse here again, because this is the confirmation here. This is the Falashruti. So we, as soon as we accept this completely, fully, without any doubt, with full faith, this is how, and we then automatically will be engaged in the full devotional service. And that is the perfection of our life. Just one last screen so we can go through that. So there's a beautiful commentary on this verse by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who's a very prominent acharya in our sampradaya. So what he's doing is he's actually asking, he's putting forward a rhetorical argument. So he's saying to Krishna, for example, he says, though this has been established by you, philosophers will argue over the meaning. And we know there are so many people who argue about translations and what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. So then he actually answers how Krishna would answer. He answers himself how Krishna would answer. He says, Krishna says here, right? Let them argue. They are bewildered by my Maya, and the devotee is not bewildered. He who is not bewildered by the arguments of these philosophers, some Muda, knows everything. Even though he has not studied the scriptures, he is the knower of the meaning of all scriptures. The other person, though he has indeed studied and taught all scriptures, is really a complete fool, Sammuddha. He who knows worships me with complete love. The other person, though he worships something, does not worship me. Very, very powerful statement by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we will stop here and I will invite any comments, corrections, realizations. just wanted to again remind everybody about the Live to Give campaign, which we spoke about on Tuesday. Let's all participate. All the details are on this leaflet, which I will share on the group. Let's make this a big success, like we did with the Bhadra campaign. Wonderful gift, especially Bhadra, Shashtradan. We have to give some charity in Purushottam month. So Shashtradan is the best charity, as we were saying on Tuesday, and nothing better than Bhagavad Gita for people to start their spiritual life. So just a reminder of that. Any comments, anybody? Any realizations? Something that you found striking in this verse and purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. It's me, Sangeeta here. I just would like to say thank you for enlightening class and always just giving us such a wonderful knowledge from Bhagavad Gita. Every one verse is the way you enlightening everything in detail was so amazing, like transcendentalist and all that. Today we learned was amazing. Thank you very much. Please accept my obeisances.
Thank you, Sangeeta Mataji. Thank you to all of us for allowing us to do this wonderful service.
Yeah, and thank you everyone, yes, for making me part of this group as well. Haribol.
Okay, if there's no comments, no. Let me see if there's any on the chat. No, the chat, there's no questions as such. So appreciation. So thank you so much for your appreciation on the chat, everybody. And yes, so we will end now. If there's no other comments, we will meet her there. I will be back here on Tuesday, Krishna willing. So please look after yourselves in the meantime. Take extreme care with this virus starting to spread once more. Let's all pray that everybody remains safe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.